setting up for the ACC SEC Challenge, Joe. No more ACC Big Ten Challenge in basketball.
I am still trying to wrap my brains around that, Joe. You were kind of whinging yesterday about these matchups, and I'm like, what? It took me a minute because at first I was like, I had a little tingly sensation. I was like, wait a second. Are they finally doing my football idea from 1998? They're gonna have an ACC SEC football challenge.
No, this is for basketball. Because remember,
then I forgot that the Big Ten is now exclusively exclusively a Fox, NBC, CBS production.
Exclusive, as in they're exclusively out of the ESPN business.
No longer in the Disney family, so there can't be an ACC Big Ten challenge.
So what do? Well, time to bring the SEC challenge. I would have liked an ACC Big East challenge. Unfortunately, television rights get in the way of that too. So who are your partners? Let's put the ACC and the SEC together. And I'm thinking to myself, this is perfect. Duke, Kentucky, right? Or something like that.
At least Carolina, Kentucky.
I mean, that's been done before, but I forgot that John Calipari, his feelings have to be taken into account, and he already gets clowned by Duke enough in those early season matchups. Remember the Zion
Champions Classic,
the Champions Classic, those types of things. So it would be terrible if he had to go to Cameron Indoor Stadium. The things that actually would get people to watch college basketball in the regular season, two iconic programs playing each other who have a long history in their own buildings.
Fairly certain Duke lost the last time they were at Rupp Arena. It was the 0-2 game where Jason Williams lost me $1 gazillion.
Of course you remember
against Indiana.
Of course you remember.
I'm fairly certain that's the last time they were there.
So I'm looking at this matchup. I'm like, all right, let's go. Like, give me some blue bloods. And instead we're getting Duke at Arkansas. Is it the 90s?
Yeah, 94 rematch.
Is that what?
94 final. Bill Clinton's going to be there.
Okay. Now, North Carolina, Tennessee is a pretty good matchup. That's a bona fide top 25 matchup.
Absolutely, but also feels like something that we see regularly. Rick Barnes against Carolina.
Yes. Yeah, there is something like that. But you know what I'm most excited about with the ACC SEC Challenge?
And you had to remind me of this. Yes.
NC State goes to Ole Miss. Who is Ole Miss's coach, Joe?
I completely blacked out that former disgraced Texas coach, Chris Beard, is now the head coach in Oxford, Mississippi, which means
we're here to talk about Ole Miss basketball, Joe. Let's go.
We're putting that request in. It'll probably be swatted right back at us, but we are putting that request in.
For those who are wondering, why is this a thing? Well, when we went to the Final Four for the Duke Carolina Mageddon in New Orleans, Chris Beard, the Texas head coach, got prickly with me because I might have fumbled a question about rivalries, the Texas Tech
do
and
not,
Texas
do not take any of this on you. This was not a you problem.
I will give myself.
You framed a question about rivalries, and you were like, "Yeah, man, you went through this with Texas Tech,
right?"
And he was like,
"I thought we were just here to talk about Texas basketball," and he was ready. He's ready to go outside. And thankfully, this is the rare opportunity where you came in to be the good cop, Joe.
The only time ever in our relationship where I had to be the good cop.
Yeah.
And you were the bad cop.
You pulled a Roy Williams story out of your back pocket.
What does it mean to you that a coach like Roy Williams, when he was looking for ways to reinvent the program, went and visited you down in Austin?
Now, to your point,
no, it was Lubbock. He was at Texas Tech at the time.
So to your point, we're wired to look at these things a certain way, and two things can be true at the same time. That the ACC Big Ten Challenge had kind of run its course, and the SEC Challenge has some intrigue because SEC basketball has improved over the last decade because of so much money and
the last 5 years,
and the coaching influx because of that money has improved the product. So there's some intriguing matchups here, but I don't see anything that's made for television, or is it that we're so down on the ACC as of late that I'm looking at the ACC squads going, well, wait a minute, who's good?
Yeah, I would say this. Now, I think next year, Virginia, Duke, and Miami will be good basketball teams. I think Carolina is obviously going to be a good basketball team. There's a little bit of an unknown with Carolina. I have zero problems with the Tennessee matchup. Again, there's history there with Rick Barnes. I look at these matchups, though, and I think to myself, okay, well, Virginia is going to be good. Well, who are they playing?
Right.
And this is where our brain needs to be reprogrammed because Texas A&M is good, and it's Buzz Williams. And obviously, Buzz was at Virginia Tech, so there is some history there. You said Arkansas. I happen to think Musselman is actually the best coach.
He's a great coach
in the NIL era.
Sure.
He has been the one who has figured out, this is going back. Remember, he was at Nevada. He was the one who got the Martin twins to Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
So he has been a master in the transfer game. So, and he's also a really great X and O coach. Don't forget, they played in that 21 tournament as well on Duke's way to the Final Four. Mm-hmm. So there is a rematch there as well. I just think it's hard for us to wrap our brains around the SEC having this good batch of coaches. It's hard for us to wrap our brains around the SEC actually caring about basketball, because that's what this has always been about. Mm-hmm. Like when you talk to people about what the SEC's attitude used to be, it was, well, our football programs are going to try to be, at the time, try to be the best in the country, and we don't care about anything else.
Yeah.
Anything else.
Yeah.
Like this idea that the SEC runs college baseball is also a new phenomenon. And we can also draw a straight line between the money that's spent on those programs and to the success that they're having on the field, especially now in the portal. And we got to get over this Arkansas thing about like, oh, well, they're just buying a team as opposed to what Miami did.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with what they did.
No,
those are the
not.
rules now. That's the only mistake. I think I would have loved to have seen Miami versus Arkansas. That's the only thing I would have said, because that would have also given us Duke, Kentucky.
That would have been good. That would have been good. Meanwhile, the women's side gets it. Okay. Yeah. You look at the women's draw, and there are some wonderful matchups, including North Carolina.
The Carolina,
right. North Carolina versus South Carolina. That's a great matchup. You've got NC State and Vanderbilt. You got Duke and Georgia. So there are some good matchups here in the women's draw, and that's going to be compelling. And I guess
they did give us one miss though,
and that would be what?
Well, Tennessee is as the late great Colton Turner used to call her, the princess is the coach.
Yes,
at Tennessee. The former Kelly Harper, the former NC State coach, is now the coach of Tennessee. So we could have had
that. Could have been a good one.
Could have had West versus the Princess, NC State in the balls.
I will say this though about the women's game, because there's been a lot of talk about ratings as of late. Like College World Series ratings were great. Women's college basketball ratings have been phenomenal. The women's tournament was great. I think the reason why we're seeing this is we're getting matchups that we actually want to see,
and familiar players.
Yep. That's the thing that you've always harped on, and I completely agree with you on that. But the women's side understanding that in order to draw eyeballs, we have to have these teams play each other.
And they've always done that. Tennessee and UConn, when they were all running hot, they would always play each other, and they would always have a showcase game.
And I don't know, this is another case where sportsmen tend to be a little bit more emotionally hot. And then when you put established coaches and established programs in a position where you have to literally challenge yourself, like, hey, you have to go to Cameron, or you have to go to Rupp, or you have to go to Cincinnati. Yeah. These are opportunities. College basketball is in a place that we're always hand-wringing about who wants to watch college basketball. What's the incentive to watch college basketball?
Too. Look at the dates.
What about them? Oh, the middle football season.
Right.
Like and college football season.
But that's the big miss here for me.
Yeah.
Because we've talked about this, how everything in non-conference shapes your NCAA tournament resume. Mm-hmm. What the SEC did last year by playing it was the SEC Big 12 Challenge.
Yeah.
They played it in February.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen this in end of January, first week of February. Again, you're in that sweet spot now where people are paying attention to your sport. So this is the rare miss here by my friend Paul Brazo. Not that he had the final say on this.
He didn't have the final say.
This is probably ESPN plug and play. Hey, we lost the Big 10 Challenge. This is where we're putting it on the calendar.
Yeah.
But again, the opportunity here was to put these games at the end of January, early February. Jim Phillips sitting out here saying, hey, man, and I said this to him. Remember when we sat down in Greensboro, I said this to him. This is when you need to play that challenge. You need to move it on your calendar because it's going to help you